Hello and a very warm welcome for another episode of the AFC Cup podcast. Today, ATK Mohun Bagan FC secured that result that took them to the interzonal playoffs, and we will be talking about that match that just ended. We have our favorite Anirudh Soman with us, and we also have another guest who is the Bridge's favorite, and he is back with football. And we welcome you back, Sagnik, to the podcast.
Hello.
So, before we discuss in detail with the match, I just want to know the first thing what it looked like was Bashundra Kings. They were the dominating team. They were attacking, and it also looked like ATK Mohun Bagan FC were playing for that result. They wanted to get that draw. They didn't want to risk it. So, what is your opinion, Anirudh, on the overall match and how the result shaped?
I think it was a pretty good game. Not a very good game to watch, but I mean, it was a pretty good game when it comes to the competitive intensity of the game. Uh, BK were in the first 25 odd minutes, I think BK were a class above ATKMB. They just ran, they were just head and shoulders above ATKMB. And obviously, they proved that with a goal to their name. And but after that, you know, it just faded away, and it was, I can't put it more subtly, it was a pretty stupid red card for Sushanto. And your team is leading, the halftime is approaching, and you all you need to do is just get inside that tunnel with that 1-0 lead to your name and all your 11 players intact, so that you can have that tunnel talk, take a breather for 15 minutes, and then come back and fight for your spot in the knockout stage. I think it was a pretty stupid game. I think it was the last action before the halftime whistle, the red card offense. It was pretty stupid because obviously, honestly, I think if BK had 11 players on the pitch, I actually didn't see them conceding, because this is something which we saw during the Bengaluru game also. They defend, I mean, the team defend with their hearts out. They put their bodies on the line, and this is
The
something
line,
which we
yes.
saw even today itself. We saw that. I mean, BK were a good side. It was a competitive game, but ATKMB, they just needed a draw to secure that spot, and they just,
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
all credits to David Williams. David Williams' goal. They secured that spot.
Yes, I kind of agree with that. Even I was kind of disappointed with the way ATK Mohun Bagan played. What did you feel, Sagnik, about the entire match? And was it one of those matches where all that mattered was the result and nobody's going to remember how the teams play? What you focus on is the result. Was it one of those matches, or were you also disappointed by the performance of the Indian team?
See,
The
as fans, you can be disappointed that the level of football was not that much up. But when you look at it objectively, right? When you look at it from Habas's perspective, going into the match, he just had one thought: I have to get into the semifinals, and I need a draw. I have won my two matches. I've done my job there. I don't have my main star, Hugo Bumu, playing here.
Yeah.
He's out suspended. The best thing I can do is get a draw and secure myself a semi-final spot, right? Because after that, it's just a matter of two more matches before you win the tournament. So, especially after beating Maziya and Bengaluru in the first two games, ATK Mohun Bagan, their objective was clear that they want to make it to the semi-finals and they would do anything. And again, when you don't have your main attacker, main creative person, with the number of foreigners also being reduced, like ATK Mohun Bagan have never played with 3 or 4 foreigners before this tournament, right? Every tournament they have, like the ISL or the Indian Super Cup. Indian Super Cup, ATK Mohun Bagan, of course, didn't play, sorry. But ATK Mohun Bagan, when they played in the ISL, or ATK even when they were playing in the ISL previously under Habas, they have always had 5 foreigners or 6 foreigners on the pitch. So in this tournament, having that reduced number of foreigners is a difficult challenge in itself. That is where in the pre-season transfer market, ATK Mohun Bagan strengthened with the signings of Liston, Deepak Tagri, Ashutosh, who all were very integral today, right? because Deepak Tangri, he was winning he was intercepting almost everything, especially in the
Yes.
second half with an advantage, with a man advantage. Ashutosh Mehta in the first half, he looked a bit shaky, but as the game grew, he was there, he was putting in the
Yeah.
tackles, he was supporting Manveer. Manveer was working tirelessly as he always does. And Liston, like Anirudh credited David Williams for that goal, but as much as that goal is for David Williams, it was created
Yeah.
simply by the brilliance of Liston. And
Yeah.
I see Liston as one of the future of Indian football. So overall, I would say Habas would be very happy with that draw, with the result, whatever, because he is now going to come back to Calcutta. He now has the Calcutta Football League to concentrate on, and after that, he can think about the semi-final, right? So he has more time to prepare his team, to get his tactics going, to get the new players acclimatized, accustomed to the playing style, and then I don't know, like ATK Mohun Bagan have a brilliant chance, if I must say, to win the AFC Cup and create history. So
The
he
fact
will
that-
keep this result in his stride.
Yeah, even it's one of those, situations where the coach is like, you have to get the job done, and we look at what's next. And as both of you mentioned that, David Williams and Liston Golasso, they were the two integral players who set up the goal. But I just want to go back one incident that happened in the first half. It was Roy Krishna who put David Williams free. David Williams cuts in from the right. He passes to Liston, who misses an open goal. And my mind at that moment was like, is he having an off day? Because he's somebody who's brilliant with the ball. Like he is courageous to take on defenders. He's never, if he gets, intercepted three times out of three, he'll again try to dribble past the fourth. And he has that confidence. So what did you make of Liston's performance, Anirudh?
Liston's performance, as Shagnik has mentioned, I mean, I would want to eat up my words, what I said. I mean, David Williams obviously scored that goal, but it was quite brilliant coming in on the left, cutting back, having that vision, that one of his players is there available, free, who can, pass the ball into the net. And, it's difficult for a player to, when they miss an open net, to, bury
Get back
those
and
ghosts. Yeah, and then get back. And, he's just 22-year-old still. I mean, he has a bright future ahead of him, whether it be in the ISL or even in the national outfit. He has a brilliant future in front of him. To be honest, today's game, if I look at it, it was pretty decent. Apart from obviously he provided with the assist, but we've seen better outings from Liston.
Yeah.
It
looks like he just.
To be honest, I just feel that I expected more from ATKMB in this game, so I just don't want to discredit them, the players, but also I don't feel like giving the credit to them also, because to be honest, I felt that even though they wanted just a draw to secure the place in the knockouts, they should have probably set up a more attacking mindset. They should have probably come on the field with a more attacking mindset, and probably went in for the win. So I think this is where me and Shagnik, we have a little difference of opinions, but obviously I respect that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
It
mean,
happens.
all in all,
Football.
it happened. Yeah, this is something which we discussed, Siddharth, if you remember.
No.
More often than not, 1 + 1 is not equal to 2, right? I mean, we discussed that even though Bengaluru also drew with BK 3 or 4 days back, we mentioned that probably because ATKMB beat Bengaluru, there's a fair chance that ATKMB might beat BK also.
Yeah.
So this is something which we discussed, but yeah, all in all, points in the bags, a place in the knockouts in the bag, we move.
Yes, I think that's how Habas also will be thinking, and the fans must be very happy because last year also none of the Indian teams could make it through the group stage, and it would have been, I think, the first time since 2006 that for 2 consecutive years no Indian team would have made it to the knockout rounds of the AFC Cup. But there's one thing I wanted to ask both of you, and I'll ask Sagnik first on this. I think Robinho, like he was somebody who was, I know he's a Bashundra Kings player, but he was just, tearing the defense apart. For him to make a run and dribble past 4 players, it looked like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Is there any chance, Sagnik, you might break some news? We might get to see Robinho in the ISL.
Who knows?
I would love to see.
We might just have a here we go, but not in this season probably, because he is obviously playing with Vasundhara Kings and he looks pretty happy there. He is playing with confidence, and the only person who was threatening ATK Mohun Bagan's defense was Robinho or Robson, whatever you call it, right? But I mean that even in the second half when they were drawing 1-1, he had that one cross sent in which almost curled in. Amrinder had no clue, right?
Yeah.
So
Hit the bar
it was pretty pleasing to watch, as you say, but I don't think he comes near that quality of Hugo Bumu or like any top ISL player. ISL is a different quality, I feel. He is good enough. He is pretty well, but no, ISL teams won't be interested in signing someone like him who can create, who can run, but I just feel he's not that, I don't know. He maybe lacks the pace or something. He's good at dribbling, he's good at shooting, but overall, game-wise, there are better players. And when you look at ISL, right, they don't look at wingers when they're looking for foreigners. They look for centre-back positions, central midfield positions, and forward positions.
Forward positions, the core of the team.
Attacking midfielders or something. Wingers, usually you bring in an Indian forward and you turn him into a winger, like what we do, and then you play them on the either flanks. So that's what happens with Indians. On the wings, I don't really see any of the clubs going for Robson at the moment, Robinho or Robson. Yeah. Overall, he was pretty good. He threatened the ATK Mohun Bagan defense, and Ashutosh was all over the place in the first half. That is there. But as I said, that when you look at the game, Anirudh was saying that we are not on the same page, but I agree with him that ATK Mohun Bagan could have started with a more attacking intent, and they could have they had a couple of good chances. David Williams with a long ranger, right, with his left foot, and then Liston almost missing that open goal when he could have just gone in and shot with his left, or just targeted the second post and he would have gone in. He's targeted the first post and he hit wide. So ATK Mohun Bagan would be ruining those chances, would have been ruining those chances if they failed to secure the draw. But now that they have got the result, I think they are not going to think too much about it. Habas is going to have a team talk where he's going to say, look guys, you didn't have Hugo, you conceded a goal early in the first half, and even then you went on to secure a draw and secure a place in the semi-final. So good job. Pat on the wall.
And the fact that, it's becoming synonymous right now. Every time you are mentioning ATK Mohun Bagan, you're mentioning Hugo Bumus. But my question here is, with Hugo Bumus signing, for ATK Mohun Bagan XC, everybody was just thinking, where will David Williams go right now? There were rumors linking him to Chennai FC and other clubs. And as we look at, the team lineup, if they play in the ISL, most likely Hugo Bumus will be the one starting behind Roy Krishna. And everybody is thinking, because where will David Williams go? And the fact that he has been an integral part of the team for the last 2 years. What did you make of that performance? I kind of felt it was a statement performance because he's taking long range shots, he's setting Roy Krishna free. And how do you think ATK Mohun Bagan should plan to utilize Hugo Bumus, David Williams, and Roy Krishna, all three together? Because if you have a front three of these three players, I think any defense in the Indian Super League will be thinking, man, what is this? So Anirudh, what do you feel? How do you think Hugo and David Williams can play? Can they play in the same system? Or is it that one of those situations where Hugo is the first player and David Williams comes off in the comes from the bench to replace him in the later parts of the game?
I don't really see that happening, Siddharth. I think Habas will be, looking at a system where he can fit both of these players. So I see David Williams. I think this might sound a little funny, but I see David Williams as a smaller version, let's just say, of Bobby Firmino, because he has that ability to drop deep, pick up the ball, and then create. He has that in him, and he's very capable of playing as a false nine, David Williams. So I have a feeling that they can play together, Hugo and David Williams, because David Williams has, you know, a few aspects to his game which Hugo does not have, and Hugo has obviously as we all know, he has those magician aspects of the game that obviously no other player in the ISL has in them.
Yeah.
So, this is something which Habas will be looking at, because David Williams, as we've seen in the last, obviously, I think he has only one goal to his name in the AFC Cup, but he has been an integral part in all three games. He has been an integral part of the game, because if you look at his work rate off the ball, it is something which you cannot just substitute. You cannot expect a player like
Yeah.
Hugo Boumos.
Yeah.
You cannot expect a player like Hugo Boumos to drop deep and defend. He's not that player. So there is
Yeah.
something which David Williams will provide when you have him in the starting 11. So all in all, I think to answer your question, I think Habas will be breaking his head in the next in the upcoming weeks or
Uh,
months to how he can incorporate both of these players, because Roy Krishna is obviously going to start every single game up front.
yeah.
So it's just how he fits these two players together.
And what do you feel about this, Sagnik? Because
It's not
ATK
just
Mohun
about.
Bagan,
It's
they've
not.
left out Johnny Kauko of the AFC Cup squad. If people are forgetting, he played at the Euros for Finland. So there is a lot of competition. It's like a good headache to have for Havas, as coaches say. So what do you feel about how they're going to set up in the ISL?
I think with the number of foreigners being reduced to 4, and in the squad you can still have 6, right? And there's no like mandatory quota to have an Asian in the ISL starting 11. So every coach who has 6 foreigners in his squad will have this dilemma about which 4 foreigners to go with. And that's a very good dilemma to have, because you have options to come off the bench. You have a plan B ready. So I think because as you guys mentioned, Johnny Kauko is there, Roy Krishna is there, there is Hugo Bumu, 3 of the most undroppable names, right? And
Yeah.
then in defense, you need a foreigner to provide that stability. You can't always rely on an Indian backline. So TD will come in at some
Yeah.
point. He will come
Yeah.
in at some point in the squad, and he will play in the ISL. He will be, especially with Sandesh Shingan going
No,
out,
no, no.
the Croatian
Yeah.
club. TD is a sure shot starter. So I see in ATK Mohun Bagan's 4 foreigners as TD, maybe Carl McHugh or Johnny Kauko at central midfield, and Roy Krishna, and the toss up between Hugo Bumu and David.
And David Williams.
As one
Yeah,
as
just to
like, they can be fit into the same team, with Bumu maybe driving out to the left or right, and David Williams and Roy Krishna operating through the center. But I think that's not going to happen, because first names on the team sheet: Roy Krishna, Hugo Bumu, TD.
Yeah.
Done. And Williams
Done.
comes in the second half. He tries to impact the game with
Yeah.
he's probably the plan B, or he's the hardworking change up for Krishna, or
Yeah. Hugo.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the team can
It's
rotate, and it's a longer season, because last season they only played ISL. This season they're playing the AFC Cup, they're playing the CFL. They will probably play in one more tournament before ISL, and then they will play ISL. So it's a long tournament, lots of games, and and they will probably
uh,
go up to the playoffs, to the finals. So
uh,
long season up ahead, and yeah, everyone
and
will
yeah,
get the chance.
and the coach also would be happy that I have that squad depth, like I
Exactly.
have players in case of an injury or a suspension.
Exactly.
You have players like David Williams who can make a difference for any team. I'm just wondering if there is a situation where, ATK Mohun Bagan are chasing a game and,
See.
they have Roy
Another thing
Krishna.
about Williams. If you look at his goal scoring, the time when he scores goals, or the time when he impacts the game, it is the big games or the crucial moments. In 2019, ATK FC, not Mohun, ATK Mohun Bagan. For ATK FC, there was a semi-final. Bengaluru had won the first leg 1-0, second leg they were losing 1-0, and then David Williams suddenly scored
So,
1 or 2 goals, and that
yeah, he
set up the
scored
victory.
that
Yeah.
header against Gurpreet Singh Sandhu from almost
Yeah.
like the line of the D box.
Yeah, last season as well, in the important game, in the semi-final or something, David Williams was there. He was playing. In the
He scored.
later stages, in the crucial big matches, David Williams is the player who stands out.
Yeah.
Hugo Bumu, his quality, no doubt. There is no comparison when it comes to creativity or passing or just attacking sense overall. in the ISL with respect to Hugo Bumu. And especially when you have a forward like Roy Krishna up front, you have Liston and Manveer on both flanks. Hugo Bumu is an asset to the team. But Williams will definitely look to challenge that position. In the transfer season, as Siddharth was mentioning, there was a lot of speculation. Not just speculation, because the ATK Mohun Bagan management, they were also probably looking at some Asian players to upgrade on David Williams, because they felt that he could be upgraded. But then I think somewhere in those discussions with the team management, the player earned that faith, earned that belief that, yeah, I am there for you. I will put in my best. I have this partnership with Krishna already. I have this entire understanding with the team, and I will do my best. So that's where the management also agreed to keeping him. And that's where he also comes into the team. He also comes into the picture right before the AFC Cup. He was extended, and you can see his performances on the pitch. Right?
Yeah, and it's fact that he came from Australia, like as soon as he landed in India, I think he just as soon as like the quarantine got over, the next day he was back training, or probably after the quarantine, he just back training. He didn't even wait. And there's this one stat, as far as I know, I may be wrong on this, but I think ATK Mohun Bagan have only lost once when David Williams has scored, and that was the ISL final last year. He scored the goal, and Mumbai City made that comeback. And even for ATK, if I'm not wrong, whenever he scores, they win, apart from the ISL final that happened last season. But we've already discussed the foreign contingent so much, but the fact that there'll be 7 players who will make the difference in the AFC Cup and the ISL. Who are the standout performers apart from, Liston and Deepak Tamri? Like the last 3 podcasts we have been discussing too. What did you guys feel about Amrinder Singh's, debut with ATK Mohun Bagan, the first 3 matches? Has he like lived up to the expectations, or do you feel he's take time to adjust because there's a new defense in front of him? What do you feel? We'll start off with Anirudh.
To be honest, I feel he hasn't been tested that much. It was a rather disappointing. I think he will be a little disappointed because as a goalkeeper, you just don't want to concede at your near post. You just don't. It's a crime to concede at your near post.
Yeah.
I mean, you speak to any goalkeeper at any level, they'll say the same thing. I mean, you just cannot concede at your near post. So I think he will be a little disappointed, but we all know that Amrinder is one of the best in the country. And obviously, it's a massive, massive, massive boost to the club. And I think he will, show his true colors in the upcoming games.
And is your opinion on the same, or do you guys disagree on this also?
No, I have not been impressed with Amrinder a lot, because like when ATK Mohun Bagan bought him, right? They bought him because he was the country's best keeper, and there was a lot of mess up going on in the transfer there as well, with Amrinder coming to ATK Mohun Bagan, Dheeraj going to FC Goa, and Habas going to Mumbai City. This entire goalkeeper thing, there's a whole other story to it, and we'll sit with it on another day. But yeah, when Amrinder was taken by ATK Mohun Bagan management, they clearly had high expectations that this is the guy that is going to replace Arindam Bhattacharya, and Arindam is already one of the better keepers. That Gurpreet, Amrinder, Arindam, Dheeraj, these are the top 4 or 5 keepers that are there in the country. And if you're bringing a number 1 to replace another number 1, it becomes a hugely competitive thing. Like if you look at European football or international football, rarely would you see 2 top-class goalkeepers in the same team. Rarely, very rarely. Usually you have a very clear-cut number 1, and you have a distinguished number 2, and then a number 3 to back the number 2 up. But here, what Amrinder is looking when he's going onto the pitch is that Arindam is sitting on the bench. He's waiting to take back his spot. I am the number 1 jersey number-wise, but Arindam is there, and he has already done the job for ATK and ATK Mohun Bagan for a couple of 2-3 seasons. So that competitiveness is required in the team, and that is where if Amrinder knows at the back of his mind that this goal that he conceded today from the near post, that's going to haunt him, and may haunt him. Because I'm sure Habas will try with Arindam or someone in the CFL, right? Calcutta Football League, there's lesser competition. You have clubs like Josh Telegraph and other clubs playing who are not at the same level as ISL at any given point. So he's going to try with his there's this goalkeeper called Arsh, I think. And there are a couple of academy goalkeepers also that ATK Mohun Bagan has. And Arindam is going to get his chances then. If he impresses, then in the ISL, Amrinder is not guaranteed a starting spot. So Amrinder really has to not concede these goals that he conceded today. Even today, when the free kick, right? Not the free kick, there was a delivery from Robinho, which almost
curled in. He was unsure
with the second post, and he was completely unsure. He did not look like he had a clue. Another time, Robinho cut in and he fired in a grounded. He drove in a grounded shot, and Amrinder was almost failing to grasp it in the first go, and there was a follow-up player coming in, and if it had just fallen a little bit closer to the player, it would have been a goal conceded. So Amrinder really has to, step up his game, because there are huge expectations from the management, from fans, from everyone. So if he doesn't step up, then it's on him. What can I say? But I have not been impressed with Amrinder so far. I think he can offer a lot more, and that is why he has been brought in the team with a very high wage and high transfer fee and everything. So,
I mean, it is something. Amrinder, just one point I need to add. Amrinder is someone, who offers that leadership role also in the dressing room. So this is something which is, it is an intangible, let's just say, which he provides in the dressing room. You have a figure like Roy Krishna in the dressing room, but it's nice sometimes to have an Indian, leader in your dressing room. He is that someone whom, the younger players can look up to. So I think this is something which, probably ATKMB might have, thought of while signing him. Obviously, he's one of the top keepers on the pitch, but what he offers off the pitch, it is something which is something we should, give him credit for.
And it's only been 3 games, like early days for him to settle. So we'll see how he performs. But before we move on to the next set of questions that I have regarding ATK Mohun Bagan and their AFC Cup campaign, a lot of questions coming in on the YouTube live, and I would want your opinions on this. So most of the fans have been asking, are you disappointed with ATK Mohun Bagan's performance? I think we have already answered it through our, questions.
Performance on the field, a little disappointed, but they have made it to the semifinals.
And that's what matters. Like, nobody remembers how they played or who missed the chances. So it's there. I think there's one of them is asking who will be the knockout opponents. As far as we know, the knockout opponents can either be Ahal FC, who's a Turkmenistan professional club, or FC Nasaf, who's an Uzbekistan club. Both of them have played well in the AFC Cup.
There's integration clubs, right? So it will be a difficult challenge.
Yeah, and
like the semi-final should be the most difficult challenge. The final, I don't think they have a very strong.
Yeah. So I think semi-finals is where the fate for their campaign will be decided. And I want everyone who has their questions to drop in those questions as comments. We will be taking questions in between and before we end the session. And thank you for joining us, for all those who have been, especially the ATK Mohun Bagan fans. We'll move on to the next. And as Sagnik said, semi-finals is where their campaign will be decided. And this was the question Anirudh and I spoke about last podcast also. And the opinion was, we as the bridge, we jinx a lot of things. So should we ask that question? Should we?
No, we have been accused too many times by our subscribers that you guys jinx all the Tokyo Olympics medalists. You guys jinxed. You guys are now jinxing all the Paralympics and like Paralympics to be medalists. And now next you are going to jinx ATK Mohun Bagan's chances in the AFC Cup. So let's not.
So then
I would say let's steer clear.
Yeah, we won't ask that question. Before I ask the next question and start the concluding remark, I want to thank Salman Bhai. Thank you for the money sent OP in the chat. So he has a question also. After so many years of the ISL, why are we unable to defeat clubs from Bangladesh and Maldives? I am not a regular football follower, but can you explain why is there a difficulty in beating 2 clubs from countries that are ranked much below us? And why is a difficulty there? I think Sagnik, you would be an apt person to answer this. Why is there a difficulty for Indian club? Is it because the other 2 countries are in the middle of their season and we are starting after a long break? Or
What else? Because when you look at Bangalore FC or ATK Mohun Bagan, the last time they played competitive football was before the second wave, which was in March, which was in February, March, and only those 18 games was that what they got through the season. And after that, they again went off on a break. They were with their families. The second wave came, second wave of COVID, which changed a lot of things, by the way. And then the players had to come back, regroup, train for like 3-4 weeks, and now they're back playing competitive football again. And in between, they had that entire fiasco where the AFC Cup was supposed to happen and then it got postponed due to some reasons. Let's not go there. Yeah. And so all these things factor in, right? Because when you're a team, you need to be playing for a while to get on song, to get in rhythm. You can't just start playing like champions from day one, right?
Yeah.
You have to have that kind of practice. And there are so many new players coming in both the teams. Bengaluru FC, they have new foreigners coming in. They have Jayesh Rane. They have a couple more domestic players coming in. Even ATK Mohun Bagan, there have been a lot of new signings. So it takes time for any team to build that chemistry, to build that understanding within themselves. And when you look at Maldives and Bangladesh, of course, their season are like they are in the mid-season phase where they have already played a few matches and the entire team has been there. They have been playing competitive football. They have the match practice. So obviously that makes a difference because as you could see from Bengaluru FC's matches, right? They did not look like they were properly ready.
Getting along. The chemistry was missing between the players. Yes.
Yeah. And ATK Mohun Bagan is just because of Hugo Bumu's quality, Distant Kolako's quality, and Deepak Tangre's quality because they have made quality signings. That is why things are falling into place. Even the first game, when you look at ATK Mohun Bagan playing against Bengaluru, they had only 32% possession, which is ridiculous when you look at it. 32%. They were playing counter-attacking, I'm sure. Bengaluru had like 70%, and even then they couldn't score because they were lacking that team chemistry or whatever. They weren't being able to stitch together those attacks, those incisive passes and all. But ATK Mohun Bagan, they just had 30% possession. They did not really care about the ball because they knew with so much of lack of practice, it's not easy to keep possession. You don't know where each player is. You can't, like, when you looked at Barcelona, 2010, that phase, tiki-taka, they could just pass without even looking.
Yeah.
Their coach's instruction was you run, you will get the ball. So here, it takes time to build that because Guardiola built it through 3-4 years. Here, they have just got 2-3 weeks of preseason and you can't really expect them to just go in and thrash opponents from Maldives or Bangladesh. Credit to ATK Mohun Bagan that they have been able to, go to the semifinals because honestly, they lost Sandesh Jhingan right before the tournament. They had no idea they would not have their main Indian centre back playing. Ideally, they were probably thinking they will take Johnny Kauko to play that box-to-box midfielder position because he has played Euro. He was just coming out of a competition and he was still in match practice. But then with Sandesh Jhingan leaving and then Thierry not being able to join because of lack of the second dose of vaccination, they had to get in Carl McHugh at the last moment. As you said, David Williams came in just a few days before the tournament started. Roy Krishna had to make a 48-hour, 72-hour journey from Fiji to India to join the squad. Other teams, this Boshundara Kings or Maziya, they have had their entire squad for the last 2-3 months playing their regular season. So obviously, it's hard to beat a team which has been playing and which is in practice when you're just coming off fresh from a break. It's like preseason. And look at ATK Mohun Bagan or Bengaluru FC, it's like a preseason tournament right now. It's not, the season has not started. It's like the team has gone to Maldives and they're playing a couple of 3 preseason games and they'll come back. So
that's there. And the fact that, it will take time for them and the players to know each other. And you mentioned the quality signings have been there. My question would be to Anirudh next. The fact that the semi-finals will be the talk of the town in Indian football. And who do you think will be the major difference for ATK Mohun Bagan going through the semi-final? Because I just give you a hint, that person is just off a suspension. The 2 yellow card suspension is gone. So he'll be, just ready. It's our Indian transfer record signing. So what do you feel? How can he impact the game for them in the semis?
Honestly, Siddharth, I think we saw his truest capabilities in the last game when he came on as a substitute. He just changed the complexion of the game all by himself, right? Because in the 60, 65 or in the first 60 minutes, and when you see ATKMB in the last 30 minutes of the game, they were just two completely different sides. So I think if I have to pin, it's very difficult to be honest, because there have been a few players whom we haven't talked about, but they still have been so immaculate in the last three games, that they can be difference makers too. I mean, we all know about Roy Krishna, we all know about Hugo Bumo, but we haven't talked about Carl McHugh, and he has been. I honestly feel he has been the unsung hero for them.
Today also he
We all
made a
know.
goal line header
Yeah,
save.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
The fact that
And
he's
he's
not a
playing
defender by like his
exactly, yes.
natural position.
Yeah, he's playing out of his position. He's not a center back, playing out of his position. And you know, even if we see, if you guys must have seen, he has that capability in him because he's a midfielder. He has that capability in him to just open up the game from defense.
Yeah.
He has that
Distribution
pass
wise.
in him. Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. He
Yeah.
has that pass in him. He has that 35, 40-yard pass in him, which can open up the defense like that. It can open up any defense like this. You don't need a Hugo Bumo to have that, make that 7-yard or 8-yard pass to open up that defense when you have
And you have
someone like
Roy
Carl
Krishna
McHugh.
and Manveer up front who are both physically strong and
Yeah,
fast.
yes,
Chase
yes.
those balls.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel, yeah, we obviously Hugo Bumo is there, Roy is there, but we also have. When I say we, I mean this is the Indian blood
Yeah.
coming in.
Arey Anirudh ATK Mohun Bagan fan
God
because
fan.
Mariner
Whoa.
Anirudh so much.
we have
Wow.
people
Yeah.
like Deepak. We have people like Deepak, who has been brilliant in the three games. He has been brilliant. He has. I think there wasn't a single blade of grass on which he didn't run in the last three games. We have
Lenny.
obviously we talked about, yeah, Lenny was pretty good today. But if you have to ask me to pinpoint that one player, I think it would be not the what do you call, a usual suspect in the form of Hugo or
Roy
Roy, but I
Krishna.
feel that Carl McHugh has been their, dependable person at the back, who has, provided them with the stability, provided them with the composure, what you need in a back four.
And to think of
So,
that, like Carl Mackey wouldn't even have made the squad if Jingan was there. Johnny
Yeah.
Kako
yeah,
would have.
Would have made.
Right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's just, I think that fortune just lining up for him and he's just being the impact maker. And we have discussed, about how where the strengths for ATK Mohun Bagan lining up for the semifinals. But where do you feel the team has its weaknesses? Because obviously they are coming after a very short preseason. And where do you think, Sagnik, the weaknesses are? Is it at the center back position? Because many fans are not convinced with Preetham being the center back or young Sumit Rathi stepping in. So where do you think the what do I say? How do I say the loopholes lie in the team, because not every squad is perfect. Where do you feel the game can be lost also for them going forward?
See, obviously when you look at the entire squad, before Jingan left, it was almost impeccable. There were no holes. And when Jingan left, right at the last moment, obviously it hurt ATK Mohun Bagan, the Habas, his tactics, whatever, his game plan. Because obviously when you look at the lineup, he was probably looking at Pritam Kotal, Sandesh Jingan, Subhashish to form the back three with Ashutosh, probably Liston on the other, or Manveer playing the right
Uh,
wing back or left wing back thing. And then you have three midfielders in Hugo Bumu, Johnny Kauko, and Lenny, probably. And up front, you have David Williams and Roy Krishna.
Right.
5-3-2 is the team you're looking,
Yeah.
right? And then suddenly you have your main
Yeah.
centre back going off to Croatia because it is the opportunity of a lifetime, and he has it in his contract that if a European club comes calling, they have to leave him. So suddenly, just a couple of weeks before the preseason starts, your main central defender is off.
Yeah.
You can't really predict something like that, or you
Yeah.
can't really prepare for something like that. But then again, ATK Mohun Bagan, the way we have shaped up their team with Deepak Tangri coming in. Deepak Tangri is a midfielder who can also play at the back. Carl McHugh, same with Carl McHugh. He's a CDM, but he has played at defense multiple times in the Scottish Premier League, and he has that physique to also deal with the pressure of playing at a centre back. Johnny Kauko is a brilliant box-to-box midfielder. If you guys watch the Euros, or if you guys watch some of his highlights, you would see his quality. So I don't, especially like, obviously there will be questions asked of the defensive line with young Sumit Rathi playing. Sumit Rathi will make errors, obviously. It's after errors that you learn things, right? And in defense, it's extremely critical. That half second, Anirudh will know better. He is a defender. So that 1 second mistake can like cost you dearly, right? One split second decision making can cost you dearly. It can be a penalty. It can be a sudden mistimed tackle, and the player just, whatever could happen. And that it's an interesting mix, if you can say, because Pritam Kotal initially started as a right back. He now plays at centre back. Then Sumit Rathi is very young. Subhashis is a left back who can play as a centre back. McHugh, but I don't really see that, ATK Mohun Bagan has a lot of loopholes when you overall look at the squad. Obviously, when you compare with Central Asian teams or European teams, there will be differences in quality. Liston Kolako will never be as good as Mbappe. PSG is never to come up against ATK Mohun Bagan. But yeah, when you look at in the ISL frame of mind, obviously it's one of the best teams, and I think even with Jingan going, I don't think ATK Mohun Bagan will have a lot of problems in finding the right squad, finding the right 11 that is capable of challenging the title. There are loopholes. There can be loopholes, but Habas, he will fix it. He is the mastermind. He is the master tactician. If he sees there's an issue, he will get someone new. He will buy someone new. With ATK Mohun Bagan, we've seen that, right? When they if required, they'll keep an extra foreigner just on the contract. They will not. They'll just keep him and then not register him, and they'll just keep him as backup. So overall, I don't think ATK Mohun Bagan will leave anything to uncertainty or any loopholes like glaring before the season starts, before the main ISL season starts.
And the fact that they have AFC Cup secured for the next year as well, because they were finalists in the last ISL. So I think the fact this is giving them, this giving the signings they want to make extra motivation, because they know they will be playing in the continental stage for 2 consecutive years, and obviously they have the squad depth to finish in those spots again to get continental football secured. I would because we have been speaking for almost like 45 minutes right now, and I just want to say to all people who joined on our YouTube chat, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. And I would like you guys to drop in those likes, comments, and hit that subscribe button, because this is what we need. The motivation you give us will help us give you content in a different way. And we have a football update from our side as well. We have a new Twitter page for Bridge Football. The username is Bridge_football. So you can follow that, and we will be posting all the updates on that platform.
We'll come back with exclusive transfer stories.
Yes, and this is a promise from Shagnik.
When Shagnik is saying that, you guys need to, just accept it and just go and just follow it, because Shagnik is the man.
We are now over the Olympics hangover. We are a little bit there with Paralympics, but yeah, Indian football is always in our hearts, right?
Yes. And for all those asking about the Paralympics, yes, we will be covering the Paralympics extensively. There will be updates on our social media page with all the Indian contingent and the games and the matches happening, and about all the athletes. And we will be also writing articles about every event India is taking part in, with all details, and like we did for the Olympics. So please stay tuned for that. Also keep following us on our spaces, because the Paralympics starts today, and the team is working very hard to give you content in a never seen avatar. And just before we end, I just want to take your predictions for the Bengaluru FC game, because you're not talking. No, just because the game is more of a consolation game. BFC will have a lot of pride for the fact that Maziya beat them last year in the playoffs. So they will be fighting for pride and revenge. And we won't be able to talk about that game like we did last time because we spoke about both the matches. So we just want to end on a note where we want to talk about Bengaluru FC and what the predictions Anirudh and Sagnik have for the game against Maziya for Bengaluru. The game starts at 9:30 p.m. You can follow our live blog. We have shared the link on our social media sites. Keep following that space. And at last, we'll have the predictions. We can start with Anirudh. He must be hoping Udanta doesn't start. And the rest is up to him.
I honestly feel that they'll still struggle to find the net. And I have a very strong feeling that it will be a stalemate, a nil-nil. It won't be the best of watches as a football fan. Strong feeling, strong vibes coming off that game that it will either be a nil-nil or a 1-1. I don't see Bengaluru, taking that home.
And Sagnik, same.
So I kind of agree, but then again, since this is a match with no consequences, anything can happen. Like both the teams will probably take a step backward. They will probably experiment a little because Maziya has their own league going on in their country. BFC will come back and play the Durand Cup and then the ISL. So they'll probably, both the coaches will probably look to experiment a bit and see what more tactics could fit in. So if both coaches are trying new tactics, they might both lead to catastrophic defenses.
Yeah, that's something we have seen.
It might be a goal fest. Is what
Nick is predicting a 5-5.
Yeah,
5-5
like Sir Alex Ferguson's last United game against West Ham, a 5-5 with no consequences. Just go all out and play your heart. And I am really looking forward to see how Bengaluru FC's youngsters like Shiva Shakti and all who have been promoted to the AFC Cup squad. If they get a chance, how they play, because I've never really watched them and I want to watch them. And I really hope if Shiva Shakti plays, he scores a hat trick and he replaces Sunil Chetri. We need a next Sunil Chetri.
Yes, I think all clubs and coaches should have that in mind. You have to start identifying to replace our main man because he is not that young enough, but he still plays like he's that young enough. We have been criticizing a lot, but then when you have Chetri, the expectations are a lot. And yes, we definitely hope they, get that victory because I think the Indian football needs that victory for that AFC Cup slot in AFC Champions League group stage slot in 2023. Indian. So we hope we get that victory, but predictions.
We need one more win, right? If either Bengaluru FC win tonight, it's well and good, or ATK Mohun Bagan, ATK Mohun Bagan have to win the semi-final. Then we have the ACL spot back to back.
Yes.
So and that's a very prestigious spot to have. So that's like playing for your country. I know if Bengaluru FC lose tonight, they won't be thinking about ACL or even ATK Mohun Bagan when they're playing the semi-final. They won't be thinking about the ACL, but it is there. And as fans, we would be obviously want an Indian club to play in the ACL, especially after seeing how well
FC go. Yes. Yeah, and it gives you the added advantage also to play in the top tier competition in Asian football and every Indian club. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. Thank you, Anirudh, and thank you, Sagnik. This was our... Yes, and thank you, everyone, for joining in. Keep dropping those likes, comments, and hit the subscribe button, all those people who haven't. This is our podcast on the AFC Cup till now. We will be back before the semifinals. We'll have preview videos as well. Keep watching us, keep following us, and keep spreading love for the bridge. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And Indian football.
Thank you.